Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. If you're coming on, please hit that like button, hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly everybody, and let them know that your boy Ramonepreston, my squad, and the Ramonepreston Show, we are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. On this beautiful Friday, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Again, hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody, and please put in the comments what city you're watching me from today. Put in the comments what city you're watching me from today. It's going to be an amazing show today because I want to talk to you about how to build your organizational flow chart. How do you build your organizational flow chart? I'll tie in what we talked about yesterday to today's discussion. But before we do, please hit the like button, hit the share button, tag somebody and let them know that we're live. And please put in the comments what city you are watching us from. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. I'm your host, Ramonepreston, every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, live, unless otherwise noted. We're live here every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern, and we show up here every Monday through Friday to share information with you that we know can help you start, structure, and at some point scale your business and your financial income stream. So if you have dreams, desires, aspirations, ambitions to build a successful business or a successful financial life, what I share with you on this show is designed to help you put that infrastructure together. Now, if you may ask, how do I qualify to share this kind of information with you? Well, a few ways I qualify. Number one, I have built a successful business and financial life. I am financially free. I have gone from hood figure to six figures. I am considered categorically a millionaire mogul. And guess what? I want you to become a millionaire, a seven-figure earner, a successful business owner yourself. And for the last 19 years, my wife and I, we have been plowing and pioneering and building a successful organizational enterprise. And just within the last few years, we have decided to build a platform specifically called Ramonepreston University. And this platform houses the information, the education, the training, the content, the curriculum, the strategies that we have used to build a successful organizational enterprise. And we make all of this available to you and to our community. We do it through our consulting programs and services. We do it through our coaching program. We do it through our online training program. We have different programs, different products, different services to fit the criteria for where you are in your personal, professional, and your financial life. So I want to say thank you for joining the show. If you've already subscribed to my YouTube page, if you follow me on other platforms, I want to say thank you. Your subscriptions, your support, your participation, your interaction, all that means everything, especially when you deal with the algorithms of these platforms. The world needs to see, especially from those of us who are in the faith community, they need to see that we can be successful in ministry and in the marketplace. And so for the last 19 years, my wife and I have proven that you can successfully navigate your life in a way to serve your community, to serve your church, to lead your community in your church, and to be successful in business. And so everything that I share with you is a reflection of my life. I'm just a realist. I keep it 100, and I share with you things that I know are working for me If there are things that I have tried that don't work for me, I might share it with you just as a testimony or a reference point because it didn't work. But I'm not going to give you something that I know is not going to work. I'm not an idealist. I'm a realist. And so I want to make sure that what I do share with you is very practical and is something that you can implement and execute in your life, especially if you desire to be successful in business and financially free. So with that being said, today, I'm talking about how to build your organizational flowchart. Now, in order for me to make sense of what I'm sharing with you today and to help you understand the context of this conversation, it's important for you to understand that when you are building a corporate infrastructure, there are certain phases to building it. Of course, the first phase is for you to file and form your paperwork. So I personally, as a business consultant, recommend that you start a holding company. And if you have divisions, you build your divisions out under your holding company. And if you have other operating entities or subsidiaries that need to be separate from your holding company legally, you file and form the paperwork for them. So that would be LLC number 1 is your holding company. LLC number 2, 3, 4, and so on will be your operating companies or your subsidiaries. So that would be the first phase of building your corporate infrastructure. Holding company, operating company. You have your EIN number, you have your operating agreement, you get your bank accounts. Now you're legal, your paperwork is filed and formed, and at that point it's time to get to business. So once you've checked that box of the first phase, what's the next phase? The next phase is for you to integrate the proper systems. Now, when I use the word systems, I'm primarily talking about platforms, technological platforms like apps, like software, platforms that you can use to house information. And so those platforms need to be connected to at least the top 5 corporate roles or corporate systems for your business. So you have the CEO, that's a corporate role with the system. You have the CSO for sales, that's a role in the system. CMO, marketing, a role in the system. CFO, financial, role in the system. And COO, operation. So even though you might not necessarily need 5 different systems or platforms to represent those top 5 corporate roles, you may need at least 2 or 3 integrated together to make sure that you're able to build an efficient organizational flowchart. Because first you have to build your corporate infrastructure by filing and forming your paperwork. Secondly, you have to integrate the systems, okay? And again, your systems are going to reflect at least those top 5. It doesn't mean you need chief officers. Doesn't mean you need a CEO, CSO, CMO, CFO, COO. What it means is those 5, you still at least need to have some type of platforms that can represent each of those 5 so that when you bring them together, this is called integration. So you may need 2 or 3 different platforms. Like for example, let's say if this is CEO, CSO for sales, CMO for marketing, CFO for finances, COO for operations. Well, of course, for the CFO, that's going to be a QuickBooks or something similar. You're going to use some type of platform to track and manage your financial activities. For your operations, you can actually bridge some of your business operations to QuickBooks simply because QuickBooks has certain features and capabilities for HR, for payroll, for drafting certain documents that you may need if you're hiring staff. So there's some level of human resource capability that you can get from QuickBooks. Now, your marketing and your sales, they can actually work on a single platform. Now, we use a platform, and I've used 2 or 3 different ones for our CRM, for our sales and our marketing. But one of the platforms that we use, we actually benefit from getting the sales, the marketing, and the operations, and a little bit of our executive day-to-day activities housed in one. But whatever the case is, when you have these types of platforms, your QuickBooks, your CSRs, your HubSpots, your pipelines, whatever the platforms or the technologies that you're using, you want them to create a central house for your business, so that when you are able to go to these platforms, you can see exactly what's happening in areas that represent these top 5. So for you as the CEO, there's things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis. So this is all a part of the second phase of building your corporate infrastructure out, making sure that you have systems that represent at least all 5, okay? Now, once you have your systems, there needs to be what I like to refer to as a connective tissue to connect your systems to processes. Okay? You have to be able to connect them, because if you have your systems that represent those top 5. Let's say if you have 2 or 3 systems you've integrated, you're configuring it to make it work so that you can track whatever the things are that you're doing in those areas, whether it's with you as an executive, whether it's an assistant you got, whether it's your marketing, your sales, your financials, your operations, whatever it is. Once you have those systems brought together and you've configured them for them to make sense and work for the type of business infrastructure that you set up when you filed and formed your paperwork, now there's a connective tissue that you're going to need, because you have to create processes. And remember what I told you, systems are platforms. Okay, these are platforms that house information. Okay, your processes, on the other hand, are steps that you use to measure your results. So that means whatever I'm doing or whatever information that I want to house in my systems, that information needs to be connected to certain processes or steps that I'm using to measure my results. So if I have an executive office, I need to measure my steps, and I need to have a house that keeps that information. For my sales, I need to measure my results, right? And I need to have a house for that. For my marketing, I need to do the same. For my financials, for my operations, which is administrative, IT, back office, whatever it is. So once you have houses, systems that are set up for your business, it just makes it easier for you to be able to start tracking or measuring the steps that you take and the activities that you engage in every day in your business. So this is the connective tissue. The connective tissue is you making sure that you have some type of flow that you've charted out to start tracking and measuring what you're actually doing. And so this is what brings you into your organizational flow chart. If you're coming with me for this conversation, hopefully I haven't lost you. But if you're coming with me with where I'm going, you've started at building your corporate infrastructure, filing and forming your paperwork, right? Then you integrated and configured your systems. Now you're building the connective tissue to make sure that you can start tracking or measuring the steps of all the activities that you're taking. In order for you to do that, that's when you have to start building or crafting some type of organizational flow chart. I showed you yesterday, and again, I'm not the best designer, and so I don't want you to just look at what I'm putting together and think it's the picture perfect design or graph, but just to give you the example, your organizational flow chart may be similar to this. You have the CEO, you have the COO, or someone or some type of position or role or something designated so that when you do have that person, if you don't have that person yet, they can start playing that role. And you still want to have this organizational flow chart mapped out. And so if you took those 5 roles that I talked about on the second phase, now you have your COO, you have your CSO, you have your CMO, and then you have your CFO, just to give you an example of how that should look. And this is how you start building out your organizational flow chart. And here's what I want you to keep in mind. The good thing about everything that I'm sharing with you, I have this information in my Millionaire Blueprint. I put this program together to be a comprehensive program. That's why we call it the Millionaire Blueprint, because it is a blueprint to show you how to build a successful organizational enterprise. You can become a millionaire and build a $1 million or multi-million-dollar or even a $1 billion organizational enterprise just by understanding the fundamentals of what I'm talking about. So again, you have the CEO. This would be a symbol or a shadow of what your organizational flow chart will look like. You have the CEO, you have the COO, you have the CSO, CMO, CFO. Now, why is that important? Because again, you don't want all of these 5 roles right beside each other like this. You don't want it like that, because all of you are just working with each other and there's no accountability. And so when you talk to a lot of business consultants who help build these types of organizational flow charts and infrastructures out, they will highly recommend that you have some position designated right here for a COO, a Chief Operations Officer. Some people refer to that position or that role as an integrator, or someone who can actually buffer these other corporate systems and roles, even though you might not have all these chief officers in your company. But let me show you, for example, if you hire a bookkeeper, let's say if you just hired a bookkeeper, well, if you have an organizational flow chart, you know where that bookkeeper falls under. That bookkeeper will fall under there. Let's say if you hired a content creator, or you outsourced to Fiverr or some platform for people to do some of your digital marketing, you would know what area within your organization they fall under. What if you hired a salesperson? You know what they fall under. What if you hired an administrator or someone who played the role of some type of executive assistant? You know where they fall under. What if you hired a personal assistant because you own the business? You know where they fall under. And all of a sudden you start creating consistency, you create solidarity, you're able to keep things together better. That's one of the biggest issues a lot of business owners have, because most business owners are small. The average business owner doesn't even have any employees. The only people that work for the average business are the people who own it. It's either the one person who owns it, or that person and their spouse, or maybe a child. And neither one of them are typically on payroll, especially if it's an LLC, right? Because you might not even have enough money to be treated as an S Corp to draw a salary on a regular basis. So just to kind of help you understand what my point is, most businesses don't have staff. Most businesses don't have payroll. Most businesses don't have money to even finance and fund any of the things that they should be doing to expand. Why don't they? Because most business owners don't have the education, the training, and the information to put these types of infrastructures together, the corporate infrastructure and the organizational flow chart, so that they are able to start building out their companies the right way. So this is a diagram or just a shadow to show you how your organizational chart should flow. Now, this brings you to what I talked about a little bit on our last show, which was about a concept that I teach called the 5 R's. The 5 R's, because if you have these areas designated within your organization, now you've got to start putting together details and information. Because again, if your systems are already functioning to represent these areas. You got technology, you got platforms, and you know your processes are going to be steps to measure what each one does in these areas. How are you going to put that information together? This is why I use the 5 R's, because again, I shared them with you yesterday. I'm going to see if I could get through a little bit more of it. But you have, number 1, you have the role. Okay, so the first R is the role. So now with the role, I need to make sure that I know what my role is as the CEO. I need to know what my role is. So there's a role that everyone should be playing. And again, you might not have these people in your business, but you need to understand what the role of the operations division of your company is. What is the role of your sales division? What's the role of your marketing division? What's the role of your financial division? If you had these divisions with or without people, what is the role of these areas? Because it's going to make it easier for you to know if you're the CEO and you're doing all these things. And don't feel bad, really, if you are at a point where you're getting started and you're learning this stuff and you realize, wow, I'm playing all these roles. Listen, I was playing all these roles. For years, I played these roles. And there were seasons when my wife came in to help me. She would drop everything for certain seasons to help me until I just maxed out all my credit cards and tapped out financially, and my wife would be like, listen, I got to go back out here and make some money. You got to figure this stuff out. But my issues were all centered around my systems and my processes. So the first R is the role. You have to be able to understand what your role is as the CEO of your company. What is the role of your operations division, even if you ain't got people? Your sales, your marketing, your financials. Once you understand the role, now you can start crafting the responsibility. So what is the responsibility? So for me as the CEO, what am I responsible for? If that's my role, if I'm running the executive office of my company, what is my responsibility? I need to know what my responsibility is. Because if I don't know what my responsibility is, even if I'm having to do all these other things, I still need to know what my responsibility is. Let me tell you how simple something like this is. My wife, she was the first person that I hired for our business when we were in a financial position too. And then the second person that I hired was, I think it might have been my son first, because he was helping me. He was just here, so he was helping me. But then I hired my personal assistant. But what I'm showing you, when you hire people, especially when you start making the money, you know what they need to do because you understand what your role and your responsibility is. It makes it easier. So when my wife came on board full time, I knew my wife was going to play the role of the COO, right? So it made it easier for me to help her understand what her role and her responsibility was, because I clearly defined them even before she came. And it took me some time to figure this out, right? I knew what my role was. So when my son decided to work full-time for our company, the family business, he wanted to be the content creator. He wanted to be the social media manager. He wanted to be the camera guy. I was like, go have at it. But at least I knew what department he fell under, so it wouldn't be any confusion. And so we could start crafting what we needed to get done around where he was. When I hired my personal assistant, she would be up there because I know she's working directly with me. So we have an executive administrator. She's there with me and my wife, helping us with a lot of these areas. She's actually playing the role of financials as well. So what I'm showing you is, when you bring people on, it makes it easier when you get to that point, because you've clearly defined the role and the responsibility. And this is how you create the connective tissue between systems and processes. Okay? That's the connective tissue. And again, I really want you to take advantage of what I'm sharing with you about our online program, because you can give yourself the opportunity and the time to get educated and trained about these things and build a real successful business. You're just not going to do it any other way. So if you have any questions, I want you to drop the questions in the comments. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if you don't have any questions, I would love to get some feedback from you on what your biggest takeaway is so far. Like, what have I said so far today that just resonates with you and you like, oh my God, that's where I'm stuck at. That's where I'm confused at. Because this is a very challenging situation for a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners when they don't know it. So you have your role, you have your responsibility, and then you can start creating a routine. So now there's a routine. So even with me and my staff, as a whole, everybody that works for our company that shows up every day, we have roles, we have responsibilities, and we have routines. There are certain things that we do every day, and everybody individually has to do every day, because we have systems and processes in place. We have platforms that house all the things that we're doing, and we have steps that we're using to measure if in fact what we're doing is actually working. So when it ain't working, we can tweak it, we can pivot, we can change it, get rid of it, add something new, develop something better, but at least we're able to monitor it and watch it and identify with it, okay? So we have role, we have responsibility, we have routine, and then we have reach. And I mentioned this in our last show, but I just want to show you. Once you start going down this list of R's, what happens is you go from information, you go from info, if you can see that, you go from info to metrics. You start looking at numbers now. Because, for example, if I know what my role is as the CEO, or as the salesperson, or as the assistant, or whatever, the marketer, whatever role that I'm playing, when I know my role and I know what I'm responsible for in this role, and I have been given a routine, certain things that I have to do every day, and there's a quantifiable, there's a number, there's a numerical reach, there's certain things that I got to do, whether it's make a salesperson making a certain amount of phone calls, a marketer putting out a certain number of content, an assistant scheduling a certain amount of calls, a financial person processing a certain amount of payments. Well, now I can have a certain number in my reach, and I can look at my results every day to see where am I in light of these 5 R's, and that information can be put into my systems, and I'm able to track them. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm explaining just with that example? Like, that's a life-changing, game-changing example for most entrepreneurs. And so if you know that you do not have your corporate infrastructure set up the right way, if you know that you don't have your organizational chart set up the right way so that you can understand how this flow chart works in your business, and if you do not have the systems and processes that could be measured so that you can start tracking all the things that you're doing, listen, even before you think you need a virtual assistant, or you need to hire somebody else to do this, or all these things that you do, I would first invest in getting educated. I would first invest in getting trained. Maybe you need to get coached by me on these things so that you are able to do this the right way, because it's going to make everything else that you're doing better. So, for example, if you don't have all this set up, but you're out there trying to sell, you're out there trying to market, you're out there trying to hire a virtual assistant, you're out there trying to outsource, you don't even know what people are supposed to do, because you might not even know what you're supposed to do. So it's going to be very difficult to build a solid, successful infrastructure. So I want to give you access to all this information. As I mentioned earlier, we have 2 signature programs. We have an online training program for business and finance that teaches all of this. We teach you how to start and structure holding companies. We teach you how to build a corporate infrastructure. We teach you about systems and processes. We teach you about sales and marketing and financial systems and operational systems. We show you how to literally put a successful business infrastructure together and build out your organizational flow chart very similar to what I'm explaining to you so that you can be clear on what you're doing and where you're going. And we provide that in our online program, and we have a coaching program that not only gives you access to the online training, but it gives you access to me and my team so that we can literally work with you on a personal level to see to it that you're able to build this out and start scaling your business to the next level. So we've got two programs, our Millionaire Blueprint and our Millionaire Mentorship Program. I would love to speak with you if you know you're just at a point to where it's worth you investing a little money in getting educated and trained and coached rather than keep losing money throwing spaghetti on the wall of your business hoping it sticks, knowing that you really don't know these things. Because I'm telling you, if you do not know this, even if you hire people who know this, number one, you probably won't be able to hire people who know this because they don't want to work for somebody who don't know any of this and who's not willing to invest money into getting this. So they're probably working for another successful business. And number two, the next thing, if you don't know this and you know it's stopping you from growing your business and you're trying to figure out, like, why is my business not growing? Like, where is the issue? I got good products, I got good services, I got great ideas. People tell me that my products and services are good. What is it? Is it just marketing? Yes, it could be marketing. Is it me not knowing how to sell? Yes, it could be that. It could be a host of other things. But more importantly, you got to have an infrastructure built. Because even if you start making sales and you ain't got no infrastructure, how you going to track all this stuff? How you going to quantify the things that you're doing? You're just not going to be able to do it. So I want you to take a few moments and I want you to really think about what exactly do you feel like is your biggest pain point in your business? Is it you filing and forming your paperwork? Is it you having the right systems and processes, or maybe you don't even have them and you don't know where to start? Maybe it's all of what I talked about and you're just like, I don't get it. I don't have the information. I don't have the education and training and I'm just stuck and I'm at a loss. Well, guess what? I want to change that. All you need to do is text the word millionaire to me, and I want to take a few moments just to talk with you to see where you are with your business, where you are with your infrastructure, where you are with your systems and processes, and we will put together a game plan for what you need to do to get to where you want to go, because your game plan is definitely going to include education, whether it's just education alone on our training program or it's education and coaching. So I just need to have an opportunity to talk to you to see where you are and how fast you want to get to the finish line. So text the word millionaire to 404-478-7213. And again, please give me some feedback. I would love for you to drop in the comments your biggest takeaway. What did you learn today that you're like, oh my God, if I knew this 18 years ago, if I knew this 12 years ago, if I knew this when I got that settlement and blew all my money, if I knew that, you know what I mean? Like, we all go through these woulda, coulda, shouldas. But guess what? You don't have to live in what if. You can live in knowing and being able to do the right thing, but you got to make a move. So just text the word millionaire to 404-478-7213. Listen, today is Friday. It's been a beautiful week here at our Buckhead headquarters. We're excited about all the great things that are going to continue to happen throughout the month of September and for the remainder of this year. I want you to win. I want you to succeed. We have the training, we have the coaching, we have the resources to help you start, structure, and scale your business and your financial income streams. So don't hesitate. Text the word millionaire to the number you see behind me, 404-478-7213. I look forward to hearing from you. Please, please leave a comment, a takeaway in the comments, and subscribe to my YouTube page. Follow me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on every platform. You can find me at Ramonepreston. So thank you again for joining the show. I want you to have an amazing weekend. We'll see you next week, same place, same time, right here on the Ramonepreston Show.